development.
No. Already now they have a budget.
September, they call it.
It's
the minister issued it.
a budget. It's called such one in September. Which tell you, Mr. Charles, in the coming fight it within. In February, after passing the budget framework paper, another final circular is issued to them.
Budget framework paper.
Yes, no, after the budget framework paper, another circular is issued to spending agencies. Please, now we have looked at with the a proper exactness of what the picture, come up with the ministerial policy statement that details the activities and the monies available to you. They normally come up with a list of so-called unfunded
priorities.
Even there is the midterm expenditure
Framework. MTEF.
Yeah, the MTEF.
Yes.
So the MTEF. So for all these things, and McHugh, in the new budget infrastructure we have, by 1st of May, you have a budget to work with on the 1st of July.
There's a background paper to the budget.
You already have, no, 1st of May, Parliament is under obligation to having passed a budget for the next financial year to start in July.
That gets read to the public around June 15.
Therefore, on the 1st of July, government has a budget approved, appropriated to work with.
Becomes the Appropriation Act. An act of Parliament approved by
Parliament. Therefore, it is erroneous on the 15th of July or the 1st of August to come up with the supplementary budget.
What the members of Parliament have been explaining to OO and Edgar looks to me like just going through motions. The law says something, the practice has been saying something else. What explains this, OO? If you could break it down to someone watching you in Molanda, I know there are many people watching you. What does this mean?
OO is no longer from Molanda, he's from Chagu. He's a subject of the Kavaka.
Please, let me, I have a vibrant mouth. Let me speak for myself. I come from Molanda. Here I'm only domicile. But let me first say, is not debated, is passed within half a minute. My understanding is that in the rules of procedure, on any matter, the mover in his or her wisdom can advocate that rule to allow that to be passed in a short time without debate. I did not watch the debate on this particular matter yesterday or the other day. I want to believe that possibly that was done, unless you say the mover, the minister, did not ask for that rule to be suspended so that they can move the motion.
Now, did the minister move to vacate that rule?
Now, if the minister did not ask for a rule like that to be considered, then you cannot hold the minister. I think the person you should be holding should be the presiding officer, who did not draw the attention of the minister that you should have done this, but also you, the backbenchers, who should have immediately objected that you're offending certain rules.
Honorable Mwanga Chivumbi is a front bencher on the opposition side.
Okay. Yes. Even front benchers from the opposition side should have raised. So if you didn't do that, you were asleep on the job.
Bambide Mukatale, ayombesa kubo.
Inside were totally paralyzed.
Yes. So
There's a Luganda saying,
yeah, what the
Bambide
Baganda say.
Mukatale, katayombesa kubo.
Yes, even us, we have a similar saying. You are cheated in the market, especially at the butchery.
What do you get?
You are given the knee of the kneecap of the cow. Then you go and check your checkup at home or along the road. Then you discover you have bones. Then they're saying now, why was I given? So you are not keen. Now about why does government bring?
Do you want me to correct that from the word go?
Why does the government?
Do you want me to correct that? No, you are creating. No, he's correcting a wrong. All knows.
You have opportunity.
Yeah,
you have opportunity. Let all make his submission and then.
Now, there are many reasons why the government will come even within the first 60 days of the budget to ask for supplementary. The reasons you have given, that there are many things that where we are in statecraft, we don't foresee, we don't anticipate, we don't plan properly. Partly could be general negligence.
Can I request production studio, if you have that breakdown of the allocation of the 3.5 trillion, if you can kindly pull it up and then we can see what was unforeseen, what was unavoidable.
Yes.
Yes, as Rob makes his explanation.
And in my view, I think much of it is arising from, if you look at even the clumsiness with which we present the supplementary request, is out of negligence.
No, knee-jerk reaction.
Negligence?
No. Knee-jerk reaction.
No, you will use that one when you are making a submission. But I'm using the word, my words carefully. Negligence, incompetence, or people simply not taking their job seriously.
With the same word.
Take the case. We are asking for supplementary for hosting non-aligned movement. Part of it is the loan to Mr. Suderi Parelia, whose facilities he is supposed to upgrade so that we are able to have a good meeting place. Even where I sit on NOC, the
National Organizing Committee.
The National Organizing Committee. NAM was awarded to Uganda just before COVID. Because of COVID lockdown, I think nobody woke up, or even when we lifted the COVID restriction early last year, nobody woke up to say, by the way, we were awarded the hosting NAM and the G77 plus China. Therefore, we should factor in the budget of 2021, 2022, 2022, 2023, resources to help build infrastructure, which is going to take about 2 financial years to complete. So that's what I call sleeping on the job. And so we come to 2022, 2023, and we discovered that because of suppression of COVID, we were unable to accommodate it. Then all of a sudden, we say we want to help Sudiri complete this, we want to do the roads, we want to do this, and so you end up with this. It is a legitimate thing, but poorly done. So because we need to host these meetings, first of all, it is a vote of confidence in the government of Uganda. It is also a public relations exercise, but it's also investment for tourism and other things. And therefore, it is a legitimate request which came unavoidable, but executed in haphazard and serious manner. Take the case of the money for classified expenditure, money for security, which Honorable Mwanga Kivumbu always have issues with. I don't think when we went to Operation Shujaa, for example, in 2021, we knew that by end of 2022, we would still be expanding the theater of operation. Maybe And that is a legitimate request when we come and say we want classified expenditure. We may not break down classified expenditure in a confidential way. Unless, again, the executive, the Minister of Defense, the Minister of Security don't convince the members of committee, even of the budget, to say, look, because of the nature of what we are doing in the DRC, we need the following items put under hardly 3-4 months of the budget to come and say we want more money. Now, you had asked the other earlier question. From the outside, may think that the government has actually operated a cash budget. Let me give you, for example, let me give you an example. In the first quarter, maybe apart from 20% or 30% of what they were supposed to get. I'm saying isolated cases. Even this second quarter, some agencies, some ministries have not even got 60% of what they were supposed to get. So supplementaries can come because of those issues, because your RA was unable to financial indiscipline, the frugality you're talking about. The government, particularly the president, has been on a public forum and said, this time round, I'm not going to entertain. For example, two things he has been raising.
Travel.
Foreign travel. That are unnecessary, that are avoidable.
And he has led by example. He no longer
For him, he has not traveled. He has been sending the vice president. Because when you send the vice president, the vice president can go by commercial airline, which is cheaper. The vice president's entourage and security is much smaller, is less costly, and so on and so forth. But then when you look at the other area, has parliament.
Before we go there, there was a debate about the delegation we sent to the United Nations General Assembly.
Yes.
In terms of numbers. The delegation we just sent to COP28.
By the way, for Dubai, I'm a very strong proponent of big delegations for such critical conferences as the COP MOP.
Clearly, there is a need to walk the talk of frugality. Our young brother, the secretary to the Treasury, that works, and has been
economics
saying
that work.
economics that works, and so on and so forth. Now,
that was when he was still an academic.
Well, now he has come into government.
But to give him credit, absorption capacity under Govi.
Understanding is there's a lot of UN money. Almost half this delegation are sponsored by the various agencies and climate initiatives. Now, that's what maybe the head of delegation, the Prime Minister's office, should be. Ugandans don't say
into the discussion. I've been attending about 2 events that are talking about climate change.
Yeah.
And one of the major areas of focus is emissions from flying aeroplanes. So I think it's actually funny. It's actually ironical. It's actually ironical that you go to discuss climate change, reduction of carbon emissions, and you invite 100,000 people to Dubai. They invited about 100,000, about 65,000 showed up in Dubai. Uganda 600 delegates, Tanzania 736.
But you remember when we had the debate where the Prime Minister disowned the Honorable Lumumba, the 97 to the UN, that even going for the UN meeting in New York is part of tourism earning for that.
I wonder whether it actually goes back.
Unfortunate act addresses macro, not micro. That is the iron of these things. Now
And the macro and the micro have no meeting point?
I'm coming to it, and I and Mr. Mpagi come from an exclusive, productive area of Uganda called Kijura. It is one of the most, it produces about 37% of the teas in Uganda.
It was once called, it is actually still called the tea home of Uganda.
The tea home of Uganda.
But that we'll discuss
Actually,
later.
the regional teas, some of the bushes, tea bushes we have there, date as far as back as 1927. And the unfortunate happenings.
Let's discuss the budget.
No, I'm coming. I'll bring it down to the budget at micro level. You know what is happening.
Three issues now.
Three issues, because I know what is happening. There is a subcommittee that is being led by the Prime Minister, and there are some discussions going on, and you know what is happening, and we shall raise it. They are going it the wrong way, but that is a topic for another day. Now, the Constitution under Article 156 gives broad powers to the minister, of course, through approval of Parliament, to apply to make a request for supplementary budget within the first 4 months of the financial year. Now, the 2015 amendment, as the Honorable Mwanga Kivumbi has put it rightly, that removed certain rigorous provisions, the foreseeable, predictability, foreseeable, observable, and observable. Unobservable. So there is a lacuna between the provisions of the Constitution, the Public Finance Act, Section 25, and the regulations which were passed by the minister responsible for finance. Yeah. Now, but when you look at the totality of the Public Finance Management Act, in particular, if you look at the purpose, very lengthy. It is talking about the purpose and there's the long title and the purpose of the title of the act. They're addressing the matters that we're talking about: frugality, predictability, and more importantly, they say that the national budget should be aligned with the objectives and directives of state what? Policy. Now, I think for me, critically, that's where the discussion should be. Is this supplementary budget that we have passed representative of the letter and spirit of that act? Because by the nature of statecraft, as yes,
Especially does it conform to the Charter of Fiscal Responsibility?
Fiscal responsibility. No, I'm coming to that. No, as Mr. Ofono Pondo has posited, statecraft has its challenges. Statecraft has its dynamics. Every financial year, different dynamics come up. There are things I have the liberty to talk about. There are other things that I can't liberally talk about, particularly touching on regional security. There are aspects of the Operation Shuja that have challenged and brought need for further budgeting provisions. You shall recall one of the security chiefs in the Monitor making a statement in Kasese that there's likely to be a terrible backlash coming from the DRC, and even went ahead to use heavy statements that one or two governments in this region shall fall as a result of some of these security challenges. So when I see the classified expenditure going to that level, and knowing what is happening behind the scenes does not really surprise me. But more importantly, there is an aspect that has missed out of all these debates: citizenship participation in the budgeting process. We, the elite, we, the intelligentsia, are totally disconnected from the budgeting process. We have left it for the likes of Mwanga Chivumbi and Honorable Mara. But of course, you know, the Honorable Chivumbis and Honorable Maras, I'm not really referring to you in particular, I'm using it broadly. The attrition rate, Mr. Mpagi, the attrition rate in the parliament is 80%. It's 80%. Many of these people used not less than 500 million shillings to access parliament.
We've seen some letters. I saw somebody who was
Exactly. So and
there is another member of parliament who's somewhere in Katojo. No, in Katojo.
Is it
Katojo.
I don't have to mention names,
Yes.
but you see, they are under intense financial pressure. So I'm not surprised that some of these...
To be fair to this particular MP,
yes,
it's because of an election petition date.
Petition date,
183 million.
But it's still a debt. You see,
Yes,
they spend so much to access parliament. And many of them know that they are not going to return. So when it comes to the budgeting process, there are many things that happen that cannot be said on air.
Okay. I'm afraid we need to be taking a break. Let me read
Are you saying that part of the supplementary is for slapping the backhand?
Can it be rolled out? Let me read a portion out of Article 156 of the Constitution. It's the subtitle here, Appropriation Bill. One says the heads of expenditure contained in the estimates, other than expenditure charged on the consolidated fund by this Constitution or any act of Parliament, shall be included in a bill to be known as the Appropriation Bill, which shall be introduced into Parliament to provide for the issue from the consolidated fund of the sums necessary to meet that expenditure. Could you quickly explain what this means?
Just a quick one. There is a lacuna between, you know, a budget is like a wish list. That this is what we intend to do. This is what we intend to collect internally, and this will be by grants and borrowing, either internally or externally. Now, they are also in the Public Finance Management Act. They are what they call statutory provisions in the whatever. For instance, contributions to international organizations.
We are taking a break. Let me
take a break. Now, there's a lacuna. There is a lacuna between
Edgar, we need to take a break.
What is wished and what is appropriated.
We'll discuss that. I'll just take one message. The current PSST was the champion of budget planning and allocation of resources. He headed the team for aligning the budget on the NDP. He was critical on the 3% discretionary expenditure, as it was a cover for corruption. What happened? In 6 months, there is a domestic borrowing of over $2 billion from the domestic market. From how will the economy recover? Question. You're both protesting. Let's pick this up after a very short break. TV featuring Mwanga Chivumbi, Ofono Pondo, Edgar Tabaro, and Paul Omara. I'm hearing words during the break like statecraft. There are issues around there to justify some of the things that we say, but some boys
to explain.
Some boys watching us and says, please remind the panelists that the role of such programs, the front line, isn't only to inform, but most importantly, to educate. Using lots of technical jargon that's not crystallized for the ordinary viewer does more harm than good. Fiscal, monetary policy, NTR, etc. is Gujarati
Micro
to some of the viewers. Micro and macro. Sam, thank you for the comment. Kenneth Chamblesiri is watching us from Fort Put and says, once again, Charles, you've pulled it off with very brilliant panelists you have tonight. P.O., Paul Omara, O.O., Ofono Pondo, Edgar Tabaro, and of course, Haj M.M. Mwanga Chivumbi. I've always admired Honorable Paul Omara for his well-researched delivery of issues at hand, specifically macroeconomic policies. He would make a very good cabinet minister. Finance, to be specific. I hope our kingmakers are taking very keen interest in this son of Otoke.
Otoke has always produced the finest MPs for this country.
Mr. Honorable Paul Omara,
State for Defense.
Edgar.
Ali Romara, yes, Joel Ali Romara.
Mr. Edgar Tabaro. Edgar Tabaro, can you allow me moderate the show,
Much
please?
obliged.
Please. You're taking us into other things. Honorable Paul Omara, let me come back to you. As a financial expert.
Yeah,
You were into banking.
absolutely.
You're a businessman. Justify year in, year out, multiple supplementary requests. And the country especially, where the major concern that emerges every other time is not just a question of frugality, but this money running through the fingers. The IGG says, the IG, not IGG, the IG says we're losing up to 11 trillion to corruption. And some of that, like someone was talking about the PSS, yes, 11 trillion. A PSST saying that what you want, this discretionary 3% was a conduit for corruption. How does that align?
First, to start with, from the world where I'm coming from my banking world, when we would do our budget and lay before us key strategic imperatives for us to achieve, we would focus on it, stick with it, remain within the budget. It would be very rare for us to go beyond the budget.
What would it mean if you went beyond your budget?
No, I mean when the budget is approved
In the unlikely event,
unless something, a black swan happens, that's when you would exceedingly go beyond your budget.
But otherwise, you're supposed to stick in the budget
to stay
and actually
there.
expected to save.
Exactly.
Yes.
So even when I joined Parliament, I thought that the same discipline would apply. But with my 2.5 years in Parliament, I realized statecraft, running a government, is totally different from the way we do in the private sector.
Is that statecraft or simple indiscipline, corruption? No. You talked about indiscipline and your lack of discipline.
Yeah.
Yes.
I qualified it by saying knee-jerk reaction.
So Charles and viewers, if you look at, for example, what has been put in the reasons for this supplementary, you would actually find that they are can be justified because, for example, there are some statutory obligations which we should have considered during the budget process.
Why didn't you consider them?
We didn't, maybe because of a budget ceiling, because the president kept on increasing the budget ceiling from, I think, the first when it came was 48.9, I think, and it kept on growing until 52.7.
Sorry, sir.
Yeah.
You grew the budget.
Yes.
and by you I mean both you, the executive, and
Yeah.
you, the legislature,
Yeah.
grew the budget by almost 5 trillion.
It's not us.
No, no, no.
Remember,
The budget-
remember the budget ceiling
for
is
the
the
viewer-
responsibility of the president.
For the viewer
Yes.
out there,
Yeah.
collectively, the government of Uganda
Yes.
includes all its institutions.
No,
And
no,
those
but
institutions...
their mandates, their
No, no,
mandates. Yeah.
Those institutions are the executive, the legislature, the judiciary, together.
Each with its
You- you run-
unique roles.
I hear you.
Yes.
You run government together.
Yes, we do.
The executive, where
Proposes.
the president is the head of finance, brings the budgets to you.
Yes.
You approve it.
Yes.
And Honorable Mwanga Chivumbi gave us the cycles
Yeah.
that the budget goes through. From the call circular to the MTF to the
Budget from
Budget framework.
budget framework paper,
to the another
which clauses
Can I-
with the appropriation.
Charles.
Yes.
The challenge we have as a member of budget committee, and we have always had a kind of a consensus and a point of convergence, even with Honorable Mwanga Chivumbi, that we tend to look more on the expenditure side of the budget, but not the revenue. So if you say you're going to project for Uganda Revenue Authority to raise 25.5 trillion in both tax revenue and NTRs, non-tax revenues, 25.5. And then you say the rest will be borrowed monies and rollovers. And then your budget ceiling is 48.1 or 48.9. In this particular case, this financial year is 52.7. So our revenue collection is very small. It's not yet where it should be. It is now only 13% of GDP.
Must be, must be a very interesting scenario that in the year ended,
Yes.
you go through exactly the same cycle.
Yes, yeah.
You know how much you're capable of rising
Yes.
domestically,
Yes.
in revenue, and including non-tax revenue.
Yes.
You know exactly about how much you intend to borrow.
Yes.
I mean, what is the essence of frugality
So-
if you know that year in, year out,
Yes.
you're going to overestimate, and we do interview you guys. Whenever a budget has just been passed. Honorable, every time a budget has just been read, we do interview you
Yes.
as media practitioners.
Yes.
And what do you tell us? This is a pro-people
being executed is I'm trying to raise here is that during the budget process, from A to E, whatever it is, we go through a litany of considerations. And what Honorable Mwanga Chivumbi is talking about, which we live, by the way, by the time we close the financial year, what we call unfunded priorities was almost 20 trillion. It came down to 11 trillion, to 2 point something. Unfunded, because you find that the priorities of government and for the people of Uganda is so huge.
What are those
But we are only limited by the size of our revenue. And then also, we cannot borrow what we cannot pay back. So we are limited in terms of a budget ceiling. So in this particular case, why a supplementary comes, first of all, let me go backward and say, the president kept on raising the budget ceiling to 52.7 trillion. The reason why the budget ceiling continued to grow is that the demands are coming from the people of Uganda. Somebody is saying the road in Otuka is not fixed. Mr. In the budget committee was that we have a single
Majority
treasury.
said majority.
No.
Majority.
Omar, don't torpedo that. Single.
No, when some of these priorities come through, and it is a live or die thing, you cannot wait and say, you have money, the URA has brought in some money. You prioritize that to fund the supplementary expenditure.
Edgar.
And knowing very well that in due course, you're going to make good.
Edgar, I would understand.
So that is a good treasury manager would do that in an event where there's an emergency.
It's one thing politically Typically, to list, you come from Kijura, to say we're going to do Kijura Road, Fort Poto, Kijura Road, 41 kilometers. We're also going to do, I don't know what road you have in Otuke that has been waiting.
Lira, Aloy, or Otuke.
Yes.
Abim, Kotido Road.
And by the way,
179 kilometers. We are still
On
waiting.
the list of the
Hold a
roads to
minute.
be done,
Yes.
Kijura Road is number 40.
Hold a minute.
And it was never prioritized
Hold a minute.
in this budget cycle.
You throw a wish list,
Yes.
but actually you're making a political statement to the people in those areas
Yes.
to say your road has been budgeted for.
Yes.
You know you do not have the money. There are roads that have been on the budget for 10 years.
That's right. Kijura is
Yes.
one of them. Kijura
For
is
10
one
years,
of them, yes.
they put the road on year in, year out.
in, year out.
The intention is actually not to deliver that road immediately, but
The
to
intention is good, the
make,
revenue-
No, to make a political statement.
And
I would understand. Hold a minute.
Let me even heighten your fears.
Can I build my question?
Yeah.
January 1st, 2024 will be 2 years to the next election. So we are going to start a new election cycle. And all our budgeting processes, believe me, going forward,
Yes.
are going to be geared
So
towards
I
that election.
I would understand where you talked about the example of a new road people have demanded.
Yes.
If Busega roundabout caves in, like happened
Like
the
it
other
has
day,
done,
yes.
it sinks in,
Yes.
or this road to Buera,
Where the bridge has...
the bridge,
Do
Not
you
actually
think
the-
we will wait to go and
Where
borrow?
the one you use for
That-
crossing
that-
into the DRC.
that for a supplementary would be understandable. But to keep growing your wishes and then putting them in a supplementary budget where you don't have money, I don't understand that kind of economics. I don't.
No, one, as Honorable Mara has put it, our...
That's why state could have come.
I'm coming to address.
Stay down.
Yes.
I'll look for money in good time so that I pay for part of the election material. So that you become a member of parliament and then you know.
By
what it is.
the talking of election material,
I will follow up on the
let me tell
pledge.
you, let me tell you
Square.
the challenges that we have as a country.
Yes.
And me, I'll always throw it back to we, the intelligentsia, we, the elite. We are so divorced from governance issues in this country. And when they come to hit us is then when we start complaining. When the roads go up, when the potholes turn into gullies, is when we start complaining. Eh?
Roads across the country, by the way,
Across
in
the
state
country.
of-
I mean, like Kijura Road, I mean, and all the related, what we used to call feeder roads. You know, by the Kijura Road is not actually a national road. It's a district road. And
No, Kijura Road is a national road. It's under Uganda National Roads Authority.
it was eventually upgraded to a national road,
Yes.
but for a long time, it was a district road.
Yes.
Now, districts are given only 1 billion shillings to do
The highest so far since our history.
Yes.
Thanks for me and
From
Mara.
the Uganda Road
Mara.
Fund. Then sub-counties, Kabende sub-county, where I come from. Well, you know, remember we previously under Kijura.
By the way,
but-
do you own a boat? Because to cross Kabale, at Kabale, you need a boat.
There's a river.
And,
There's a river that has...
unfortunately, nobody can carry your
Can carry, I'm too heavy for the locals to carry me across. Now, and you see now, for the sub-counties, like our sub-county,
Yes.
the budget for roads there
Yes.
is 6 million shillings. Now,
Please.
mind you, I'm coming to address the aspect of statecraft. Now, mind you,
Yes.
this is an area that is intrinsically in the ecosystem of the tea production, whatever.
Yes.
Half of the factories, of the tea factories that feed the auction in Mombasa are in that,
In that locale, yes.
Kigoyera up to Mount Oruha. Now, if President Museveni, for some reason, finds himself in Fort Portal,
Yes.
believe me, we are going to make our what?
Your demand.
We are demand.
Yes.
And we shall push him against the wall.
We'll
and
co-
I'm very
we'll-
certain.
we'll come with a supplementary.
He'll come with a supplementary budget. You will call Gobi and say you must what?
You've been negotiating 120 billion.
126 billion.
26 billion,
But
yes.
Toro is not included in that 126 billion. It's going to... I don't want to mention things on air. We shall take them at the right time. But more importantly, to address the aspects of statecraft, I'd like to go back a bit in time. When Dr. Suruma was in charge of, when he was Chancellor of the Exchequer, Dr. Suruma brought in some semblance
When he
of-
was Minister for Finance.
Okay.
Chancellor of
Oh,
Exchequer is language.
okay.
Is
That is a very exotic language.
Very exotic language. When he was
That's the United Kingdom.
When he was Minister for Finance,
Yes.
he put his foot down and said, we are going to establish financial discipline. In fact, the year you guys hounded him out over Temangal, he had been voted the best finance minister in Africa. If you, the whatever.
It's peers.
His peers.
So why was he voted out here?
Yeah?
If was
The politics, your statecraft I'm talking about.
Statecraft couldn't accommodate.
So his outlook, his practice was not in
In tandem with the demands of the
realities
politics.
on the ground. because listen, if we are saying we want 40% cut across ministries to deal with the war in northern Uganda, you cannot tell us that, you see, I have already written my budget. Let the issues of northern Uganda wait.
Let me tell you what happened when he was removed. When he was removed.
Didn't we end the war?
No, when he was removed, you know what happened? Inflation set in. You remember the inflation of 2011?
I know he's watching.
No. I mean,
Is inflation entirely bad? If you're an economist, is inflation an entirely bad thing?
Fiat money.
No. I'm saying is
Fiat
inflation.
money.
Is inflation
Dr.
an entirely bad
Mutevire
thing?
had to go to cleanse his face before the international community by giving an interview to the Financial Times because he was thoroughly embarrassed by your you're calling it discipline, I'm calling it knee-jerk up.
Let me ask this question.
Yeah. No, but I want to conclude. I want to be fair to Mr. Gore. When he was on the other side, where I am now, for instance, it was easy to punch. To punch holes into the thing. The day he arrived at Sir Apollo Kagora, he found the request for supplementary budget. And frankly, he's in the circumstances in which we're operating, given the politics or what he's calling the statecraft, and the demands of the occasion, the demands of the day. I think his team has done very well. In a particular absorption, you know, we used to have funds, and moreover borrowed money from the Bretton
When you
Woods.
arrive at the Minister of Finance,
Yes.
whether as a minister or the Secretary to Treasury and the PS, you know you serve at the behest of the President.
Yes.
You are not your own boss.
Your own boss.
Hey, you can bring a certain level of discipline and technical advice.
Honorable Mara, are you trying to locate the indiscipline at the footsteps of the
placing it
president?
No.
Is that what it
The president is actually the substantive minister of finance.
Yes.
And as I already indicated,
So if he
the
fails-
nation is looking at him, the pressure is on
If he
him.
fails to adhere
Yeah.
to what budgeting demands of the hold of that office,
Chancellor, let me give you a story
No,
from
I'm saying
Nigeria.
he's not his own boss.
Chancellor, let me give you a story from
He needs to
Nigeria.
listen.
When Okonjo Ngozi, former, was she MD at IMF for Africa? No, before she, the Bretton Woods. Obasanjo had taken charge and wanted debt relief from the Bretton Woods. So he called her and told her, I want you to come and take charge as Minister of Finance. She accepted, but on condition that she didn't want to see Tavaro, Omara, and the likes of Fono in the Ministry of Finance.
Yes.
Now, when she landed at Mutala International Airport in Abuja, the very names that she had mentioned, Omara, Tavaro,
Were lining up to
were
receive
the
her.
ones who went to receive her officially and drive her in the limousine to the office.
Yeah.
She now saw who was in charge. Her work was only to sanitize and get debt relief from there. So that's what statecraft is all about.
Let's bring this down. Roads in Kampala are riddled with potholes. The president the other day said in his statement to Bazukulu, said that was not, we shouldn't be disturbed by those potholes in Kampala. He thinks it's a smaller matter. But this has been growing because the budget for Kampala has been significantly slashed successively over the last few years. I think there's a time they got about 25% of what they'd been allocated. And the result is what we see. Navigating through Kampala is a huge cost to the economy. Across the country, roads, because of these rains, are in a state of complete chaos. Health facilities, schools. I mean, where does statecraft align with
First of all, let me respond to the issue you said earlier on, that does fidgeting with the budget the way you say we are fidgeting with, where does this leave a pro-people budget? What is it? It is a budget that tries to answer to the needs of the broad, vulnerable majority of Ugandans. And therefore try to stay on focus on peace and stability. Yes, it does. Once in a while we can get lapses, but we quickly deal with it. 2, general health of the population, primary and secondary, tertiary health. Do we deal with it when there's an epidemic, when there's an outbreak, and so on? 4, food security. Does our budget deal with that? Yes, it does deal with it because it deals with elements of water, elements of rural feeder roads, so education, just accessibility. Let us even not talk about quality. Let us just talk about accessibility for the broad majority. So this budget still responds to the poor, pro-people budget. Now, let me come to the issues we are talking about. The roads in Kampala vis-a-vis the roads up country. First of all, this budget, if you look at it, defense, there is no sector that takes more money than road infrastructure in this budget. It is above defense, if I'm not mistaken. No.
Defense is 1.4 billion.
And the works? Roads and works?
Roads and works, what is
Please, the members here. But what I'm simply saying is, what I'm simply saying is that this budget, if you look at the whole country, generally speaking, our transportation, particularly road transportation, has improved. Notwithstanding the destruction by the rains and negligence. Now, Kampala, personally, I don't think Kampala, the issue is just the decrease in the budget. There is a mismanagement, there's negligence, there's poor planning, lack of coordination. When we're talking about the traffic jams, in the gridlock in traffic in Kampala, is because there's no coordination, no linkage between Kampala Metropolitan, Kampala KCCA, and auxiliary